Welcome to A Word. My name is Kellie Scott-Reed. I am your host this evening. And today we have with us Jason Melvin. Jason, welcome. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Jason Melvin, but
And I said
you said Melville.
Melville?
Like, no, I
It's
did
Herman
not
Melville.
write
I'm
Moby Dick.
thinking I'm
Yeah.
Moby Dick. Okay.
uh,
I'm looking right at your name.
I get mistaken for him all the time, so it's okay. Jason Melvin. I am a poet. I started writing back in 2018 after 20 years of not writing. I started publishing in 2020 and it's gone pretty well. I've been published 30 odd different places. I have a book coming out at the end of this year. It'll be my first chapbook. And this is something that I'm tackling later on in life that it's something I've always wanted to do. And I now have the time to do it. I've spent a lot of the last 20 years coaching soccer. I have 3 children, been married for, this will be 26 years this year. And I have my first grandchild was born last year. And so
That's awesome.
Yeah, and she's adorable. She's a little bit over a year old. And I finally have the time to get into the writing that I've always, I told myself when I stopped when I was like 25 years old, I stopped writing and I said, this is something you can always go back to. And I promised myself then that I would. And 2018 kind of hit me a little bit hard. My middle son graduated from high school and I had coached him in soccer and all of his friends, and I was coaching all the time. Like at times it was 6, 7 teams in a season, and it was kind of chaotic. All I did was work, coach, sleep. And that ended. And I have one daughter, she's about to graduate next year. And it was a different transition for me. It's like, I actually have time. I have free time. And that's when I decided that and grief is something that's always drawn me to writing. My father died when I was young. I was 11, and that's kind of how I dealt with that grief. Was I started writing as a teenager. And it's odd that the grief of just your children getting older and that loss was something that it was put me right back into that mindset of this is the time now to start writing. Told myself then that I would keep writing for a year, and then I was actually going to try to do something with that writing. Whereas when I was younger, I didn't have the ability to. I'm still terrible at it. Like, this interview just makes me really uncomfortable. I can't. The selling part of it is really, really tough for me. The marketing side of it, and when I was younger, the rejections I never could have handled. When I started having this, a little bit of success, my oldest son asked me, are you regretting the fact that you didn't do this when you were younger, when they were younger? And I said, honestly, no, because if I would have I would have never been able to handle the sort of rejection. You guys know, you send stuff out, you get rejections constantly. And now I'm at an age, I'm just like, whatever, move on. But when I was younger, I could have never handled that kind of rejection. It would have probably driven me away to the point where I wouldn't have been able to come back. So I'm actually glad I did wait.
Yeah,
I had that, mindset.
It's kind of how I've approached it. And I have 3 children. I didn't write for the longest time because I was doing activities, coaching, team mother, the whole thing. You kind of dove into my kids' stuff. So I didn't write for a long time until I started, oh my gosh, my kids are all gone. And I'm sitting at work and Tiffany has this idea. I'm like, let's do it. I hadn't written in a long time, just little stuff. So I know exactly what you're doing. And now my mind has a lot more space to explore those things that happened in the past. And awesome. Well, I appreciate that. That's really great of you to share that. All right. So I'll start with our first question. I don't know if you got a chance to look at them. They're on the website, but the first one is, could you tell of a time when you realized that language had power?
I would say probably back in high school, when I first started writing. And, I had a couple good high school teachers in the realm of English. And I had an art teacher that I was really close to in high school. And my plan in leaving high school was to become a pilot. And I told this to my art teacher, and she was like, no, absolutely not. You can't be a pilot. You have to go into art of some kind. You just have to. And I wasn't a good artist, like when it comes to painting or drawing, or I liked sculpting, but I wouldn't call it good. But she just felt like I had to do something creative. So I ended up starting off school going for cinematography. And because I enjoyed writing, I enjoyed photography, and I thought, okay, I can combine this. I loved watching movies, watching film. I wrote a few screenplays, and that was pretty much what I was writing. It started off writing poetry, grew into some short stories, but then I was writing screenplays. Came close, not real close, but somewhat close. Made a short film back then, and it was kind of around that time was when I realized, okay, it's time to shelve this dream until you're older and just focus on writing when you're older. But it was that moments in high school when language really, like the words really started to hit me and just say, I can really finally express what I need to express. Never was through, like when I was really younger, I was crazy shy. I mean, I didn't speak. Most of my family never heard my voice. I was just, I was the kid behind a chair playing by himself and perfectly content that way. It's where I wanted to be. And it wasn't until I got into high school and that I started opening up and started really forcing myself to be social. I was always had a nice close group of friends that, I didn't feel uncomfortable around, so I could be myself with them. But in any kind of group setting, I was always uncomfortable. I'm still uncomfortable. But I learned to adapt. And that was when, I really like to express yourself. I found that, writing was the way I needed to do it. Sorry, I ran on there, but
no, that's very, no, not at all. I love it. I love when people talk and tell us their stories. That's the point. A short answer usually something like writing doesn't do the trick. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's the reason we ask an open-ended question like that, where it could be anything, is the stories are what it's about. And I think all writers have some story to tell, and I love listening to them. So that was a great answer. What is your writing kryptonite?
My writing kryptonite is that I'm a procrastinator, really bad. I'm going through a lot. I wish I could tell me what my writing kryptonite is, because I have been stuck for some time now. So I wish I could figure out what it is that is. I've just I feel like I write better when I'm going through things. So when life is kind of copacetic and easy, and that sucks, and it's not like I just write about grief and everything. Even when I'm in grieving, I tend to be able to be more open in my writing and actually push through it. It's when things are just smooth, and that I guess is my writing kryptonite, so I don't know. It's kind of a shitty way to look at things, but yeah.
No, I get what you're saying. I have a book called Good Poems for Bad Times, which I really love. It's a compilation book of all like these really dark, almost like chewing gum on a toothache type of digging into some heavy subjects. I tend to write best when I'm angered, bored, which isn't all the time. So it does kind of strike randomly, I get that. Now you did hint to the next question. You were talking about your cinematography. The question is, if you weren't a writer, what would you do to express your creativity? So you said your photography was something you enjoy.
I do. And that's something that I always enjoy. My wife makes fun of me because I have on my cell phone, I have more pictures of stupid shit than I have of my family. Like peeling paint is a big thing for me. Anytime I see peeling paint, I'm pulling out my phone and taking a picture of it. Don't know why. I just like it. And like when she goes through my gallery on my phone, she's like, what are you doing here? And now with my website, I have something to do with all of these photos. I now make like little album covers for every time I'm published and throw that on my website. So now I have a reason for all these photos, but that would be, yeah, if I wasn't writing, I've always, loved photography. The filmmaking made me realize when I made a short film back in my 20s that this was something that I was always going to struggle with. When I made that first short film, obviously you do it no budget and everything. And we're talking years ago where making a film wasn't as easy as it is today. We didn't have smartphones and stuff that we could just, be Steven Soderbergh and make a whole film on an iPhone. We actually had to have cameras and sound and, microphones and all of that.
The mics that go, the huge.
Exactly, a big boom mic and everything. And going through that process, even though I loved it and it was so enjoyable, the post-production process was awful. And it was just a matter of finding time. The guy I did it with, both had full-time jobs, both had, families to deal with. So it took much longer. And then the selling part of it was like, I don't know how to do this. I just, I had no idea how to sell myself and put it out there and where to go and everything. I didn't do that kind of research into it. And that was what really kind of said, you know what, maybe you don't want to do this the rest of your life. But photography and writing something, I've always.
Ow, my dog's being bad. Sorry. I was going to ask you, what genre movie was it? Is it like a horror or
very, very, very dark comedy? Someday I'm going to throw it up on the website that I have, and on my writing website someday. I need to get more. Actually, I don't, believe it or not, I don't even know where a copy of it is. So.
Oh, no kidding. Oh my God.
Yeah. So,
I was thinking of this movie that I love when you were talking about the movie. Have you seen that? The documentary?
You cut out a little
about
bit.
A guy named Mark Borchardt. Oh, have you ever seen American Movie, the documentary?
No, I haven't. I have to see it.
That's something you should put on your list.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about a guy. It's a documentary about a guy in the Midwest who's making a horror movie. The people who did the documentary were going out to just look for people for their movie and realized they should make a documentary about this guy. So it's really pretty great. If you get a chance, it's worth watching. It's really interesting. All right, I'm sorry. I digress.
No.
Yeah. What's my last one? Here's my problem. I don't have my glasses on, and that's why I'm not reading anything right. What is the most difficult part of your process for you?
My first draft, I handwrite everything. I have truly the worst handwriting of any human being. I'd argue with anybody that I am the worst. And I kind of, especially when it comes to the poetry I'm putting in my notebooks, I tend to write it fast, just, mind dump type stuff. And a lot of times I can't read what I wrote. So that becomes difficult, especially on things that I'll just, I like to write it, forget about it, go back, put it in the computer, then do my first edit there. And sometimes I'm reading it and I'm like, I have no idea what this line is. And I have to try to, and my idea behind that is if it was really good, I would have remembered it,
Yeah.
So obviously it wasn't that good, we'll go ahead and cut it, but I have my notebook here.
Or you cut it or you find something else.
Exactly. Well, I guess I don't know if you can see.
You got a notebook?
Yeah, this is my notebook. I'm actually, it's really like you can't read anything I write. I never have to worry about anybody like trying to read my writing because people at work get mad at me all the time. It's always, I actually wrote a poem about it. It was published in Oni. It was called Straight C's because all through elementary school, I never got better in the C in penmanship, but all the other grades were good. Bring it better in the C. And I
think sometimes we were born to. Go ahead,
what was that? You're breaking up again.
I was just going to say, sometimes we were born too. Sorry, we were born too early. Like nowadays, you don't need penmanship.
No, exactly.
I was not very good at. That's why I can't read anything I'm writing. Yeah. Awesome. But is there anything that you were starting to talk a little bit about what you're working on? Do you want to give us a little, put your website out so people can visit?
Sure. I know it's odd for writers to actually like messing around with their website, but I'm very proud of my website. It was, I don't consider myself a really technical person, and I found it very easy to do. I get to put my stupid shit photos out there. So I enjoy that. And the website is jasonmelvinwords.weebly.com. I updated, I just had a publication today, so I just was updating it before we jumped on here to get it
Awesome.
out there. And then I have a book being published the end of the year through Bullshit Lit. It's called Wrong Things for right now. That could change, but I think we're going to stick with it. And it's kind of my bodier poetry, I guess you would say. Actually, I believe 2 of the poems I published with you guys will be in it, if I'm not mistaken. So I have a lot of poetry that deals with going to the bathroom for some reason, and it's all going to be in there. So
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about my dog. I don't know if you could hear her barking in the background.
No.
Never barks, never makes a sound. She's like barking like crazy. Thank you so much for joining us. I actually thought this was very interesting. I'm super excited to check out your website again. I loved Trampoline that you wrote. That is wonderful.
Thank you.
And I just want to make sure I mentioned that. I wrote it down next to Melville.
Okay.
I'm kidding. It does. It actually does. I can prove it says your name. I'm just not wearing my glasses. I'm like, does that say? Well, he's a writer. He must have written Moby Dick.
Yeah.
I appreciate you so much and so much for coming. Keep submitting. And we hope to speak with you again. Come to the poetry readings, anything. We'd love to have
one
you.
Tonight, right? Is there one tonight?
Saturday.
Oh, I don't even know what day it is. Okay.
There is one Saturday. And you are, of course, invited if you would like to come hang out. I will
try to make it then.
Sweet.
Awesome, sir. Have a really great night. We'll talk soon.
Right.